everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am very excited for this video today, as I always am, but for good reason. Today, we are going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that I have seen people making with their low content books when they're uploading them and selecting all the different options. It can be kind of confusing at first, and I've spent quite a bit of time examining other people's KDP accounts and their listings, and there are a couple different sections that I've seen that people have checked off one thing or haven't checked off something, but in fact they should have, and that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And believe it or not, just these tiny differences can make a huge overall difference in your KDP books and in your listings, and we're talking in your success and in your sales. So you are going to want to stay tuned for these 7 different things to watch out for when uploading your KDP books. Make sure to check off the right boxes, select the right things, and make the right choices. And this video will help you do so and simplify all those different Amazon terms that might be a little confusing. Now I'd like to take a brief moment to talk about this video's sponsor, VIDACAP. I don't know if you knew this, but humans have used mushrooms for their health benefits for thousands of years, and for good reason. Naturally, it depends on the species, but mushrooms typically contain B vitamins, vitamin C, calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, zinc, and so much more. They can also have a ton of different benefits, and each person might experience something different, but certain mushrooms can enhance different areas of your day-to-day life. For example, you may find that they enhance your focus, your mental clarity, improve your energy, and even enhance a sense of calm. So how can you enjoy all these different benefits? The answer is mushroom supplements, and that is where VIDACAP comes into play. VIDACAP's mushroom extracts are grown under optimal conditions by experts, and they contain only clean and whole ingredients so you can feel confident with what you put in your body. And no matter what type of mushroom you're interested in, whether it's lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail, cordyceps, or even a customized blend depending on what your needs are, then you can find it on VIDACAP. For example, I got these myco-immune gummies from VIDACAP, and on the side they tell me all the different stuff that's in them. They've got some of the mushrooms I was just talking about. They've got reishi and cordyceps and lion's mane. One thing I absolutely love about these is that they really help me stay focused, and they help a lot with my energy. For me, I spend a lot of time on my computer, and I also have a hard time staying focused. But ultimately, I found that through the use of these gummies, my mind was so much sharper, and I've had a lot more energy. I felt a lot more rested. So if one of those many health benefits stuck out to you, I'd like to recommend that you go and try some of your own VIDACAP mushroom supplements. And in fact, you may be surprised by the benefits. I know that I was. Make sure to go down and click the link in the description. Go find just the mushrooms that you're looking for, or get your own blend. And once you've decided on your perfect pick, use my coupon code SARAH20 to get 20% off of your purchase and start enjoying the benefits. And now let's get right into the video. And first off, one thing I'd like to really quickly note is that I'm going to be going in order from details to content to pricing. All right, so the first most common mistake that I see is in the series. So basically, boiled down, don't put anything in the series, don't create a series, don't add to an existing series. And the reason for this is because low content books are not allowed to have series. One thing I would absolutely love for KDP to do in the future is if they could have options like with other Amazon listings, how you can choose a different color or different style for the product that you choose, and they don't have that with KDP books yet, and I hope that they do in the future, because that can even be a thing with high content books. You know, you choose the cover that you like the most. And I found that there is a little bit of a misconception that creating a book series for similarly styled notebooks will make it easy to find all of them, or perhaps include them all in one listing. That's not the way it is. It's also not allowed. Series is really only beneficial to things like novels and whatnot, so don't add anything into series unless they change something in KDP in the future. And the second most common mistake that I see is in the publishing rights. In the publishing rights, you have 2 different options. The first option says that you own the copyrights and have the necessary publishing rights, and the second option says that your book is a public domain work. This one I've seen a lot because it can confuse a lot of people, but you're almost 100% of the time going to want to pick the top option that says that you own the copyright. It's maybe confusing because while you may not have gone out and got some document that says that you have the copyrights, because you created the book, you automatically own the copyrights. A public domain work is something that can be copied, referenced without having to ask permission. And I'm pretty sure you don't want that. So always go with you own the necessary publishing rights, you own the copyrights, and don't get confused by the wording. You created that book, so therefore it is automatically copyrighted. So make sure to choose that option. And the third most common mistake that I see is in the categories. Basically, you have two different options you can choose for the categories. Use both of them. Don't choose just one. Don't decide that you can't figure out what category and just bypass it altogether. Categories play a huge role in your BSR, which means your book sales rank. And basically, to just explain that really quickly if you haven't heard it before, is when your book gets a sale, your book will shoot up in the rankings. But how much it shoots up comes down to the categories that you choose. For example, if your book is in categories with a lot of other books in them, like very high competition and popular categories, then your book won't shoot up as high because there is a lot more competition. But if you're in a low competition category, for example, a category that just doesn't have as many books in it, is kind of more behind the scenes, then you're likely to get a much higher sales rank when someone purchases your book. I've talked about this in the past, but basically what I would recommend for choosing your categories, again, always choose both. You have to, so use to. Choose something that is relevant and low competition. I'm not going to give you any specific examples, but whatever your book is related to, find something that's even remotely related as a category. Kind of do some digging if you need to. BookBolt has an excellent category finder that you can use as well to search up what you're looking for, so you don't have to do quite as much digging through that huge, messy KDP tree. The thing with categories is that Amazon says that your category has to be related to your book. It doesn't say how related, so ultimately that's up to you. I've seen some crazy ones. I've done some crazy ones in the past. It's not something I do in the present anymore, just because it can be a little riskier and it is against the rules. Fortunately, I haven't had any issues. Other people have. So ultimately, it comes down to your own discretion. But just stick with relevant, even remotely relevant categories, low competition, ones that you personally think wouldn't have as many books in them as, say, juvenile fiction, fantasy. And the fourth most common mistake that I see is in the adult content section. Obviously, this one's pretty straightforward, but I just want to clear a few things up with it. When it comes to adult content, almost never, ever check this section. Even if you have slight adult themes, some slight language, whatever it is, you're almost never going to want to check it. Unless for some reason it's like super inappropriate, but even then you may just want to include a warning in the description rather than checking the adult content box. Because with the adult content box, you can never change it in the future. Even if you go back and edit your book, you're not able to change the adult content section. And choosing adult content can hurt your listing and therefore hurt your sales, which is a big no-no. So if you're ever in doubt, even if you've just got a swear word on the front of your book, don't choose adult content. And one thing to keep in mind is that I found that a lot of automatic KDP listing tools can sometimes check that section automatically. So just always check before moving to the next page that it is absolutely at no and not yes. The fifth mistake that I've seen most commonly is in the publication date. With the publication date, this is one that could just be a little bit confusing. Ultimately, you don't need to touch it. You don't need to add in your own date or anything. As soon as your book goes live, KDP will populate that section with whatever your publication date is, which is the date that your book goes live, which is basically the perfect date, and it makes it really easy so you don't have to figure out, oh, like what's today? It might be published in like 5 days. So add the numbers together. Now, KDP does it for you, and it's very helpful. The only time you'd want to change this section is if for some reason you published this book on a different platform a long time ago, typically only with high content books. Then you can add that previous publication date, but ultimately you just don't need to touch the publication date. KDP makes it easy. They will add it in for you. The sixth most common mistake I've seen is in the barcode section, right where the book cover is. When you're uploading your book cover, there's this tiny little checkbox right below it that asks, does your cover include a barcode? I've seen this trip a few people up, and I think the reason is because yes, it should include a barcode, and I think people are like, oh yes, my book needs a barcode, I'm gonna check this. But if you read it more carefully, you'll realize what KDP is asking is if the design of your book cover already includes the barcode in it, which almost all the time, unless you have for some reason added your barcode in, which is a lot more complicated of a process, you're going to not want to check that box. And don't worry, KDP will add your barcode for you, so don't complicate the process. Just don't check the box. If you check that box and your barcode isn't included, then KDP is going to reject your book. And again, you don't want that, so make sure not to check that box. The seventh and most common mistake that I've seen is in the pricing, royalty, and distribution section. So first off, let's talk about expanded distribution. Don't select the box for that. I know when I started publishing KDP books, I was kind of confused about that, and I did a bit of research, like, what is expanded distribution? That sounds lovely to get more sales, even if it's at a lower price. But the thing is, with expanded distribution, it doesn't work if your book is a low content book. So basically, that's almost never going to be an option you're going to want to pick. If you've got a high content book, why not? It doesn't hurt. You probably won't see any sales from that anyway, but most of the time, just don't check that box. But thankfully, even if it is a low content book, I doubt you'd have any issues with your book. If selecting that box, they'd probably just be like, oh, like this doesn't work, and then it wouldn't fall into those sections where it would apply anyway. And now for pricing, there are two sections you're almost always going to want to change, and that is in Japan and Australia. Japan, that's the one that ends in .jp, and then Australia ends in .au. And the reason you're going to want to change both of these almost all the time is because the price is a lot lower for those. For the Japan section, it's typically a small amount of yen, which translated to American currency is only like a couple cents. So definitely raise that. You're going to want to raise that closer to 100 yen. And then with Australia, you'll find that one is super low as well. So just raise that one about $1 and you'll be good. Because after all, you don't want people purchasing your books and then you just make a couple pennies off of it. As long as you're making at least $1, then you're gonna have a lot more room to grow. All right, that is about it. I hope this video helped you with listing your KDP books. So those of you who are confused by any of the categories, any of the sections, hopefully this video made it a lot easier and a lot simpler for you so you know what to select. Because especially with low content books, the things you would select would be different than if you were to create high content books. And so it can get confusing, but I hope that this video helped you out with that. And if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. I would super duper appreciate it, and I would love to have you. All right, guys, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye.